And cheers, Nick. Cheers, y'all. Got to get my cheers on, you know? So,
oh, yeah.
Nick, I am excited to finally have you on the podcast. We've been talking about this for a few weeks. I mean, honestly, more than a month now. And we finally got some time in your schedule because I know you got a crazy schedule with traveling, and we'll talk about that. And first, I figured I'm going to give it a minute here to let some people kind of trickle in to the stream. But while we're doing this, I want to know just how's the day going, dude? How's it going?
It's good. I kind of miss the Florida weather at the moment with the wonderful overcast we've had. It's good. I've got my son this weekend. We're actually having a bunch of family come in from Charleston area. They're trying to avoid the storm, but as they were leaving, it was beautifully sunny there, and now it's raining. So I'm going to blame it on them for bringing it with them. So
that's exactly.
But yeah, no, it's good. Just hanging out, spending time with my son. I went to the gym last night. Had a doctor's appointment this morning that went really well. So that was good.
So yeah, dude. All right, perfect. So let's start with, now I kind of got like some of the things settled in. I want to know, like, first of all, let's just say let's get a full proper introduction. Okay. Like, who are you? And then we'll go into like why we're here, some of the results you created, and then dig into like all the different pieces along that way. So let's start with that.
All right. Well, I'm Nicholas Chinese. I'm 28 years old. I've done sports my whole life. I played football since like third grade. I wrestled since sixth grade. I played college football for a couple of years. I've always been a fairly large man. I've always kind of teeter-tottered with my weight for a long time. Going from wrestling where I'd go and cut like 20 pounds or do this or do that. And it was just natural. Even like I remember as a kid with youth league football, every year I had to cut weight to make the minimum requirement. I was a pretty tall kid and everything else. So I remember used to having to run around in like a trash bag and spitting in bottles as a kid trying to cut weight down. And then it was horrible. It was pretty tough to do that, but it was cool. It was great. I got to play football and do what I loved. And, no. And then in 2020 and 2021, I was probably at my heaviest at like 450, 440. And from 2020 to 2021, I had to go to the hospital 6 times. I've dealt with a disease called tachycardia, where my heart would just go out of rhythm probably since I was in like sophomore year of high school. It would start. I got real heavy sophomore year, lost a bunch of weight junior year. But in 2020 and 2021, just being so heavy, my heart would start and it would go up to like 200 something beats per minute. And I couldn't get it to stop with all the weight I had on and stress. And it was just like running a marathon, but just never being able to stop. And I had to go to the hospital to have my heart restarted. Every time they'd have to put a solution in me, and I cannot think of the name of it, some long medical name. And I will tell you this for any of the listeners, I am horrible with medical names. So please don't fact check me on any of this. So going through that, and then February 2020, I was separated. Well, I had a lot of stress going on. I just remember I was just defeated. I was at 440 pounds in, and I reached out to my old wrestling coach, and I've known him for years, since middle school, and he's a larger guy himself. And I was like, hey man, like I'm back in town. I moved back to Asheville, and I was like, hey, do you want to work out? And he's like, yeah, I got a home gym. Like, so I would get up every morning, 6 a.m., work out with him. I lost some weight just initially from the shock of like, hey, your body's going from doing nothing to pushing itself every morning at 6 a.m. But then I would just I would get close to that 400 line, and then it would just kind of fizzle out. My diet wasn't the best. Over the years, being a big guy, I've tried everything under the sun. I've done keto. I've done Weight Watchers. I've done Noom. I've done where you just drink juice for a month or like whatever. And like, yes, I've lost weight, but the problem every time is the sustainability of it. And I've with keto, I would get the keto flu about 3 or 4 weeks in, be sick as a dog, and then like just had to eat something that had carbs in it just to get it to stop and just to feel normal again. Weight Watchers, honestly, I don't want to badmouth any brands or anything, but it just was.
Listen, you can share your experience, your perspective on things, whatever that is.
I felt a lot of like the point system would only benefit if you bought their products, is what I kind of felt. And their products, if you look at it, aren't much better than some of the rougher stuff out there, such as supplement wise, with the sugar amounts and everything else. And I was like, man, I'm just not seeing the results I want to see. And Noom, I would do it now and then, but then like I just couldn't get to it. But then I do remember the day I was scrolling through Instagram, and I saw Mike's post, and I've actually known Mike for a few years now through Johnny Buck. Mike actually bought a punching bag from me like in like 2015, 2016. And
Dude,
we met.
I moved here, or like right around that time. And then when you said that, I'm like, bro, like it made me connect the dots. I was like,
we met at like a Bojangles parking lot, and I was like, hey, here's a punching bag. Because I was living in an apartment, I really didn't want to hang a punching bag off the ceiling. As much fun as I'd have to pay to refix that if I broke a truss or something in the ceiling, that would probably not be good. So, but I saw Mike's stuff, and me and him had been Instagram friends. I've kind of followed what he's done. And I saw an ad for his 12-week program, and it was like you had qualifications of like guys over 30 and just want to lose weight. And I was looking at all the result pictures of everybody, and I reached out to him. I was like, hey, I'm not 30, but I would love to do your program. And I had a family reunion coming up, I think like the next week after I was going to start. And I just remember on the phone call, I was like, I don't know if I want to start today. And like, he walked me through the pricing, and the pricing wasn't, I just didn't want to start, worry about that. And he was like, look, if you don't start today, you're never going to do it. And so I was at work and went and grabbed a cup of coffee and just thought about it. And I was like, texted Mike and said, let's do it. He got me all set up. I remember he was setting it up on a road trip or something, driving, which commendable for that, because with kids, traveling is never an easy thing to do. So, we got it all set up. And I remember I finally broke that 400 mark that I had been fighting to break forever. In like first 2 weeks, I actually went to the reunion and lost weight. Let's take into account, this is an Italian family reunion with like 400 people, and grandmas and great aunts squeezing cheeks, trying to stuff food in my face, and like, oh, here's a plate of cannolis, and like, I'm like, no, I can't, no, thank you. And I was just putting the proteins in. I had protein shakes, I had tuna, I had everything else. And sorry, my son just stepped in the door, and we were just working all that out.
In this video,
it was.
Say hey, everybody.
What's up, buddy? Wes, you looking good, dude.
Say thank you. Show them the muscles. Show the muscles.
I see you flexing.
All right, buddy. Say bye.
Bye, Wes. So this is like, that's an important variable. So you're even talking about like, yeah, so I remember this very vividly. I was in Hilton Head road tripping, coming back and like all that. So like to your point with like dealing with kids and, oh, what's up, Star? Stars it like, so you can't see all the chats, by the way. You can only see the comments in the StreamYard, but we have like a bunch of different Amazon channels open. Star saying hey, and that Wes is adorable. And we do follow UFC, by the way, Star, which we can get into. And also, I don't know if you're open for some Q&A from
absolutely,
that we could totally get into. So fun fact, by the way, Star, Nick, if in case you're just jumping in, for anyone that is just jumping in some of the other channels, going over, Nick is a friend of mine. We like, again, kind of knew each other through just the martial arts network here in Asheville, and then got a chance to work with you, talking about that journey. And now you're at the end of that like program journey. Really, is just the beginning still. Like we have so much more that we get to create.
Absolutely.
Together. Yeah. So talk to me about, you mentioned kind of like breaking that 400 mark. And that, so to me, these are like milestones. Like that's how, and when we discuss this, like these are milestones. And I think of it as we're not losing weight, we're eliminating it. Because when you lose things, sometimes you find it again. But when we eliminate things, they're gone. So that's just like maybe a psychological twist on things. And then, that's a great question, Star. Even with Sean O'Malley, we'll get to that. I'm gonna put a pin in that. We're gonna come back to that. But with that, Nick, I wanted to hear. Give us a little bit. I'm also going to screen share. So guys, just so you know, as Nick and I are talking, I'm going to play sponsored content. We're not going to have the audio playing. So I'm going to try and figure out the best way to there we go. See if, there we go. Now you can see us, you can see that. But talk to us, Nick, about what you were able to create throughout these 12 weeks. And so you mentioned even I know where you're at now, but so breaking that 400 mark, to your point, you're already getting into within the first couple of weeks, going to a family reunion and losing weight. Pick us up from there.
So, so I just remember I was traveling and I was in the car with family. I rode up there with my parents to Pennsylvania, and I remember they were hating me because I just kept. I was eating tuna packs to get a quick protein in, and tuna. I enjoy tuna, but not everybody enjoys the smell of being locked in a vehicle with an open can of tuna or salmon.
That's a fact.
So I was doing that, protein bars and just everything. I just remember I reached out to you. I was like, look, I'm traveling. I need a guideline for what I need to kind of break that. And so me and you talked about it. I went shopping at Publix. I was sending Mike a billion pictures of things that I need. He was like, yes, no, yes. And then I had just a big old not a suitcase full of tunas and rice and other things I needed to, one, be fueled for the day and not be hungry. So when that great aunt comes in with a plate of cannolis, I'm not scuffing them down. So that was big. So I just remember, so when I first started your program, I was at 411, I think was what I weighed in on my scale. And I remember you sent me the scale, the Fit Index scale.
Yeah. I still have that. So guys, fun fact, on our Amazon storefront, on either one of the channels you're watching this on, if you're watching on Amazon, go to the storefront. I have that Fit Index scale. I'll even throw it in the other channel carousel really quick, but sorry, continue.
Oh yeah, you're good. So I had the Fit Index scale and I was I looked it up. I was like, Mike, it only weighs in at 400. So it's not functional until I hit 400 pounds. And he's like, that's fine. He's like, just keep losing the weight and we'll get there. And I remember I was looking at my scale, my other scale, and I was at it finally said 3 is the first number. And I was like, uh-oh, here we go. So I immediately hopped on the Fit Index. And I remember just being such a large guy. I mean, it's a smaller square. I was squeezing my feet on it. And I was like, come on, wait. And the first time it was 400.4. I was like, okay. So I just continued to do the stuff or just continued on the program, kept my nutrition in, kept sending my pictures to Mike. And I think 2 days later, I was at 394, 396. And it was bam, I can do it. And it actually gave me a real reading of my muscle mass and everything. Because when you're over 400, it only gives you just the weight and what your weight is and your BMI with that weight. So finally got it able to work, and I was using it, and then the weight just kept coming off, but I just remember it kept rolling off. I'm like, wow, this is really kicking in. I remember it was like, I was like, okay, my goal is to break 400. I hit 400, and then 3 or 4 days later, I'm at 396, and I was like, okay, let's shoot for 390. And then I think I didn't have access to the scale. I think I was running around doing a bunch of stuff, and I weighed in again. I was like 388, and I was like, well, there we go. So I was crushing goals, and I had a couple different goals in my mind for like more of like events, less of like, hey, I want to hit this weight by this date, but more of like, I had a wedding I had to go to, and I had I found a wrestling tournament that had an open division, and I wanted to compete for that. And I remember because I was like, I need some extra motive, because the reunion was one thing to get down lower, and of course, like Mike, I'm sure you're aware of this as an Italian, that the family reunion, they're not exactly the least judgmental people in the world.
For sure.
So if you come in a little heavier than usual, I mean, your aunt can be 350 pounds herself, but if you're heavier, they're like, what are you doing? What are you eating? You're gonna kill yourself. I'm like, I don't want that this year. So I showed them I was on my way to losing weight and everything, and then I had that wrestling tournament coming up, and that was supposed to be the week after a wedding, and I saw it come up, and I wrestled for years, and I coached wrestling for 2 or 3 years. I was Reynolds High School's head wrestling coach, and I did that after college. And I was like, man, I just want to compete again. So I started training with my old middle school wrestling coach. I started going to his practices and wrestling around with them, and then I started doing Rogue for a little bit and doing the jiu-jitsu there. Fortunately, I suffered an injury to my elbow and had to discontinue. But with that, I was also, I found it in myself, because there's always an excuse to like not go to the gym. You're like, oh, because I work a full-time job.
And yeah, talk to us a little bit about not just you work a full-time job, but give us you don't have to go into too many details, but like you travel too. So like the travel component's a big aspect of that.
Yeah. So with my job, like when I'm in town, I work probably 40, 45 hours a week, just normally, just in the office doing that. But when I'm on the road, so I work in the insurance world. I'm a building consultant for insurance companies. So they send us out to estimate damages and just assess things. And the problem is when you go to hurricane struck areas. So I just come back from Florida this week. I've been in and out of there for a month and a half. So I'm working 15 hours a day down there. And the fact that I get up at 5 a.m. just to go travel 3 hours to get to a site, because everything's so devastated down there, there's nowhere to stay close. So when I got down there, I remember I was like, man, I've got to find, because I went to the hotel gym and all they had was like an elliptical, and then they had a cable machine that only had like 2 attachments to it. It had one handle and one bar. And I was like, okay. Well, I was like, listen, I'm creative, but that's going to take a lot of creativity to do that. I'm a member of Gold's Gym back here, and I work, and when I was training for the wrestling thing, I was working out twice a day. In the mornings, I would go and do lifting with my wrestling coach, and then at night I'd go and do some of the workouts that Mike provided with his program, and I would do a lot of conditioning with that. I would mix in stuff like I was working a lot of like 2-minute interval stuff, like hitting the the assault bike where it's like got the handles and you push it, and
100%.
I would do those for like 2-minute spurts for like a wrestling period to like prepare me for that. And but I get down there and to the hotel in Florida, and I'm like, I've got to find something. We were staying in Tampa, luckily, and shout out to the Tampa gym, Gold's Gym down there. They're an independently owned one. And the problem was I have a membership that can go wherever, but it has to be like a franchise thing. But this was a smaller mom and pops kind of individually owned one. And I was just, I was like, I went there the first night. Somebody had let me in the door because I was walking in. I had my headphones in listening to music. So I went to scan my thing. I didn't hear what it said, and I just walked in and worked out.
Cool.
Well, come to find out, I was doing deadlifts with some pretty heavy weight right next to the woman that owns does all the financing. And I was talking to her at the end, and she's like, I've never seen you in here before. I was like, no, I'm just new to the area. I've got a Gold's gym membership that goes wherever. And she's like, oh, no, that doesn't work. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. So, but I talked to her. I was like, look, I'm in town for hurricane relief. Is there anything I can do for like a month-to-month thing? And usually they charge like $75 for like a month membership if you just do it like that. But they're like, hey, $35, you're good. And me and my coworker both did it, the membership, and I would go work out down there. They had like tires and sleds and ropes, and I was doing all the workouts that you gave me, and then I was adding cardio on top of it. And this is the first hurricane duty I've ever had where I didn't gain 10, 15 pounds going to drink at the bar every night, or go and eat food, or go to a restaurant every night and eat till I'm about to puke. And I think the toughest part was I was staying in a hotel that only has a microwave. So that's never fun to meal prep in. And but I went to, luckily there's a Publix right down the road, which was perfect. Publix and meal prepping, the best thing in the world.
Spot on.
I was buying the cooked chicken breasts because, let's be honest, microwaved raw chicken breasts, that's not going to work.
Rough.
And so I did that, and then I bought the microwave vegetables, and I had my protein shakes, and I had the Uncle Ben's ready rice, the whole grain rice, and I would just microwave those, and I meal prepped the whole thing. If you want to see it, I have it on my Instagram page, and it's a quick little tidbit.
Speaking of which, two things to work in. One, we got comments coming in saying, tell him congrats on the weight loss journey. Tough journey, but I wish all the best. Oh, man, in the talent field, yep. The problem would be good if I could lay off the drinks. That's a big one, too. Like laying off, like drinking calories, whether it's the alcohol beverages or anything. I'm going to just do a screen share really quick to show you have 2 Instagram channels. I wanted to show one you actually created from the fitness side of the journey. I'm going to show this isn't exactly it. This might be some other things, but I wanted to show just like a little bit of a visual transformation. So you guys
so that was me at about 440 pounds right there.
What's up, muscles? Look at that. Look at that.
Shout out to my mom taking my transformation photos all the time for me. Like, hey, Mom, I know you're over here cooking dinner, but hey, can you take some photos of me in the kitchen? So, but no, it's
Look at this.
That one right there. That's the hotel, and so this was cooking in a microwave in a hotel. Luckily, I had a kitchen counter to cook off of, so that was. And fun fact, they don't usually have silverware, so I was using an excess hotel card to cut it up like I was in prison. So that was fun. And,
but here's what I'm hearing you say is no excuses, dude. Just being innovative. And and like they're saying, they're kind of like, wow, awesome. Like that's inspirational. Yeah. So guys, also go follow. Nick just recently created this. So go follow him on Instagram, man. Putting out really inspirational, I think very real world applicable. That's not a word. Applicable. Insights from the food, exercise, just inspiration, man. First off, look at that fancy feet right here. Let's just get it.
Take into account, I am 350 pounds at the moment, and I'll put a video out next week of me doing a cartwheel after the jump rope, and we'll show it how it's done. So, but no, it's so the stash strength. So, being a bigger guy, I always had a real puffy face, and my buddy's wedding that I was preparing, I was like, that was one of my milestones to lose such weight. He has a mustache, and I was like, no, I can never pull off a mustache. And then one day I was like, I've dropped like 30, 40 pounds. I was like, let's just see what it looks like. So I shaved it off, and I was like, oh, well, okay, I have a mustache now. So I've done that. Yeah, I've done that for a while. So I made the logo Stash Strength. I was just bored one day in the car on one of my 6 hours a day of traveling, and I started making logos and stuff, and just trying to, I've only got a handful of followers right now, but if I can make one person like be like, hey, let's get off the couch. If this guy can do, I mean, I was in a tough spot when I first started. I was unhappy. I had medical issues with my heart. I had every reason why in the world just to give up and just be one of the guys you see on TLC walking around, getting people to take care of them, everything else. And shout out to Star Hart for just following me on there. There we go. I just saw it pop in. But I I had every reason just to give up. And something in me, because I mean, for one, that little 2-year-old you saw walk in is a huge inspiration to me. I don't want to be the dad at the youth football games rolling up in a wheelchair. I've had doctors tell me when I would go in there in 2021, they're like, you have 4 years. If you keep living like this, you're going to be bedridden. You're going to be this. And I'm 26, 25 at the time. I mean, that's terrifying to think about, because I've spent my whole life in sports and I played offensive line all 4 years. I sometimes try to lie and say I was a wide receiver, but no, I had terrible hands. So that wasn't going to work out. So, but yeah, I mean, I had every reason to get up or just to give up, but working with my middle school coach, shout out to Scott Mead. I've known him for a long time, and he's lost a bunch of weight too, working out and everything else with me. And then shout out to Mike for just like pushing me through it. So, I mean, I've probably blown Mike's phone up from anywhere from 5 a.m. to 12:30 at night, sending him pictures, sending him everything else, asking him questions. I'm one of those people that's super. When I get into something, I'm super invested into it. Yes. I've been a grinder my whole life. I've worked for everything I ever got. I'm 6'1". So playing college football, like I went and did the recruiting visits to all these D1 schools and was beating all these kids that were 6'6", 6'5", 6'7", and all these drills. And everybody's telling me, hey, you're too short. Like, you have the skill, but the Lord didn't bless you with enough height. And I was like, well, unless we can stretch me out, there's nothing I can do. So I sat there and I fought. I got a D2 scholarship to Limestone College. And it was literally one guy on the staff believed in me to do it. And I go in on the first week and I earned a starting spot, just pushing. And like, I was doing summer workouts at like in the pouring rain. I was working a summer job at Asheville's Fun Depot when I was that RIP. It's gone now. But and then me and my buddies would meet up at the football field and we would run in the rain, we'd run in the cold, we'd run in whatever. We'd push ourselves, and it's just something I've always carried with me. And then as a wrestling coach, I coached for 2 years. First year I came in and I gained a bunch of weight after college football, and then I was wrestling with these kids, and these high school kids were like kicking my butt, and I was like, this got to change. So I lost a bunch of weight then, and was doing sleds, run wrestling, and then I was wrestling everybody. And then I had met my previous wife and gained a bunch of weight and kind of changed my lifestyle from pushing myself to just being sedentary. I changed jobs into what I'm doing now, which is a lot of times it's sitting on your butt. Some days it's climbing roofs and everything else. But if you go and drink all day after, or drink at night, or eat restaurant food, it's not good. So I think in 2015 I was like probably 310 pounds, pretty lean and ready to go. And then, like I said, I got all the way up to 440 to 450 pounds. I was in a 4XL tall, sometimes a 5X in t-shirts. That's another milestone I had being on Mike's program. When I started off, I was 4XL tall, and it was kind of looser, a little loose, not super loose, still needed them. And then I think 2 or 3 weeks in, I was like, man, these things are getting baggy on me. So I went and bought all 4X stuff. I took all my 4XL tall stuff and got rid of them, because I talked to Mike. He was like, you're never going back there. I promise you that. So I tossed them out. So then I was, I kept losing weight, and I got down to like 370 or so. And I was like, oh my goodness, these are baggy now. Now, take into account, large men clothes are expensive. So I then had just bought all that. So I just threw it right back out. I didn't throw it out. I didn't throw in the trash guy. So nobody. So I gave it to some family friends I know that are larger than me. And and then I was like, so I got rid of 4X and now I'm in a 3X. I've been eyeing these shirts for years through clean threads or fresh clean tees. I've been eyeing for years. I was like, man, I want those. They look nice and everything else. And I was like, I can actually buy them now. This is great. And went and bought all new everything. And then I was like, oh crap, I need all new work clothes. Because usually at work, we were just wearing like a polo and jeans. And I was wearing it. And I was looking like MC Hammer with all these baggy clothes on. And my coworker was like, dude, you look sick. He's like, you look like you were like going. And I was like, yeah, I probably should buy new clothes. So even now I'm getting close to like 2XL. And I was like, man, I'll have to go buy more clothes again. But honestly, it's the best feeling in the world because as a big man, you only get a limited amount of clothes, a lot of stripes as I find in the 4XLs. And I'm like, man, I do not look good in stripes. I look like a mailbox or like a van or like something not great. So that's the cool part about losing weight is I can get cooler and cooler clothes every time. I no longer look like a postal service. So that's a fun part with it. So no, it's been great. And I mean one of the biggest things with this program, and I can't say this enough, is it's get what you put into it. It's like it's like an engine. It's like a machine. If I like, you can get on Mike's program and you're going to lose weight no matter what. But if you're going to do what I do and sometimes go work out twice a day, go on runs, if you're going to eat clean, you're going to meal prep, you're going to do all these things, you're going to lose an astronomical amount of weight. Now, what was the finishing number? 55 pounds, Mike, like right at the 12-week mark. I mean,
yeah.
I am by no means saying everybody that gets on this program is going to lose 55 pounds.
Sure.
But you have the guidelines and the support and just the all around, you have a built-in best friend in Mike who's going to help you get the results you want as long as you are willing to put in the work to. So, I mean, I can't say enough. I literally went from possibly going to have to be on a TLC show in a few years to I'm running around with no shirt on in the yard, mowing the grass, doing this, doing that. And I'm happy, So that's the biggest thing is, it's you can do all these programs alone. And yeah, you'll lose some weight. You can do keto and lose this weight, but when you get off of it, you're going to blow up. I'm done 12-week program. I'm still doing the same sustainable acts that Mike has given me, eating proteins, eating vegetables, eating this, eating food. Yeah. And I think that was right at like 4:30 there. And, it's just one of those things that you keep doing it and you can do it for the rest of your life. Like I'm not missing out on anything. Yeah, I may not eat a second piece of cake, but honestly, with all the weight and the results I'm seeing, why would I want to, So yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff in there. There's a bunch of cute pics of Wes as well.
Yeah, Wes. Sorry, I'm just like going through like even on the personal page. And then hey, Dorothy says hey by the way too. And then how did he stick to it? Does someone message you and keep in touch? Oh, that's a great question, Star. So
yeah, absolutely. So Mike, our big thing to start off with was I would send Mike a picture of all the food. And the thing with it, if you have like a bowl or something, one of the best ways to do it is tell him exactly what's in it so that he can understand, hey, like that item in there, like you put too much of this, let's cut that down a little bit. He's never hard about it. He's like, oh, that's crap. Like, get that out of here. But if you really go down a bad path, I mean, I'm sure Mike will do that. So
yeah,
I'll
check you if we need it. Not you, anybody. Like I had a call the other day. I won't say who the client. I won't go into. So this is something that I think is very important for me personally. Is like HIPAA, even though not everyone has to adhere to it. As a health coach, I do. But even prior to being a health coach, I always stuck to like HIPAA regulations where like I protect everyone's information with security and certain aspects on the back end, but also just like how I talk about things. I don't share personal information. Like even my wife doesn't know like client info unless it's like in a public platform where the client decides to like you coming on, we could talk about these things because you're voluntarily giving that information.
Right.
However, I was talking to a client earlier this week, and so no big bowl of Fruity Pebbles. So that's a good question, sir. We'll talk about that too. And the call, I had to give them a really hard truth. And this is something I've honestly worked on a lot over the last couple of years because I'm a people pleaser. So as a coach, I'd be a great cheerleader, but sometimes having a hard conversation, I would drop the ball on. And over the last 2 years, I've made a conscious effort to really be able to have the uncomfortable. And I don't say it in a way that makes it uncomfortable. At least I try not to. But for me, just to acknowledge like, hey, dude, listen, you can't be getting plastered all the time and expect to have certain results. And if you're doing this and you're happy with it and that's working in your life, all right, cool. But because I had that conversation, we had a call today and just a message like, there were like the gratitude and the looking at like, hey, look, like, and this is, I won't say who it is, but it's a female and they lost 15 pounds on the platform. And they like to your point, Nick, like they maybe weren't, and everyone's on a different journey, right? Like not everyone has the same experience, right? So being an athlete to me and being in wrestling creates a level of discipline and willpower that not everyone can match. And that's okay. That's like, okay. And this person's like, they've had their own experiences and things. And sometimes from my experience in this coaching, it's not just the X's and O's of what we're eating, and it's the behavior patterns, the mental kind of story we're telling ourselves. So to your question, Star is like, yeah, I'll message you and stay in touch, but I'll also give you a hard truth when we need it, but acknowledge the positives and find the wins. And then even when it comes to like food choices, like, listen, if you tell me, hey, I love Fruity Pebbles, Mike, like I can't live my life without Fruity Pebbles, we'll find a way to fit that in. But to your point, it's not going to be a giant bowl every single day. It's going to be, we're going to find how do we eat this post-workout where we add protein to it. We have fruits, we have veggies, we have these other things, and we'll find a way to, or we'll go to like Magic Spoon cereal that has a comparable option. Or like, for example, I've told you guys this many times over, and I talk to, cool thing about having a health company is like, I have my own nutrition coach and my own mindset coach and my own strength coach. Like I outsource in my own company so that I don't have to do all of this. And I love Reese's. I love peanut butter cups. So instead of eating and housing a bag of Reese's, I make my own chocolate peanut butter, dark chocolate with sea salt. Like we're experimenting with our own recipes so that we can have still that be in mind, because I know that's important to me. But anyways, rant over. Tagging it back. And also I want to check in, Nick, because this is something we talked about before we came on. I'm going to be streaming for an hour and a half, guys. Nick, you got a life, dude. So I also wanted to, I want to do these little checkpoints saying, hey, how are we doing? Let me know if you got to check out. If you want to hang for a little bit longer, if we want to do some Q&A, we could do that.
No, I'm good. Sounds like my son's down for nap time, so I'm gravy.
Nap time. So I want to open it up. If you're open to this, Nick, to see if people have questions, we could circle back because Star was asking about Gizmo's in here. Dorothy's in there. What's up, y'all? I'm going to check on my other channel, see if we have any questions. I'll also check on the other social media if we have questions coming in or my emails. There's all these avenues of questions coming in, so I always like to check them to see I don't miss anything. So I wonder how, like, so you have the topic of UFC came up, and do we watch UFC? I'm definitely obviously a UFC fan. I'll be transparent. I don't follow as much of all of the fighters as I used to. I'm more invested in the people I personally know. And that's been cool as a strength coach in Thailand. I've worked with like Rafael Fiziev and like Lurdzilla and like with Michael Bisping and with like Chris Cyborg. And like I've one-on-one or like I've worked with like Randy Couture and like with like Forrest Griffin and Frank Mir. Like, so I'm personally invested, and those guys are retired now, but I have like personal people I'm invested in or that have coached me or that I've gotten to work with. So I'm invested. So I'm wondering, Nick, who do you like? Where are you at in the UFC side of things? What do you follow? What interests you? Talk to me about that.
So I love a good heavyweight coming from the heavyweight. So I followed. I was a big Cormier fan. So, and I'm gonna butcher the guy's name. That's the heavyweight champion now. The large man from Nigeria, the Nigerian monster.
Yeah, Francis Ngannou.
Ngannou, yes. So a big fan of him. I love that he's the rags to riches story.
Yes.
I'm O'Malley. I'm a fan. He's something else, man. He's that Peter Yan win, that was incredible. I mean, it just sometimes striking will just kind of lay it out there, and it's I love Poirier. I travel all over for work, and I love Louisiana, and I love his Louisiana crawfish king mentality he's got going on. I actually just bought his 3 little hot sauces yesterday.
Nice.
And I was like, they sound good. So, but no, I mean, that whole division that Poirier's in right now, I mean, that's a whole bunch of scrappers. And he's about to fight Mike Chandler tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I think that's just going to be an absolute scrap to the death.
Essentially.
Yeah. So, I mean, I love watching it, and I've watched it since I was young. I was one of those kids with the tap out shirt in like middle school. I had like a chain link tap out shirt I used to wear way too much. So I was that breed of kid, and I was also the one that like was a big fan of watching the wrestling proportion of it, just growing up in wrestling.
Understanding that, right?
Yeah, understanding. People are like, oh, everybody's now like, oh, it's all striking, and that's the moneymaker. But if you can hold somebody down for 3 periods, 5 periods, a lot of times you'll win. So, but no, yeah, I'm a big UFC fan. Honest, and that was the big thing. And in COVID, I would have all my. Okay, I won't say this too loud. I had a few of my friends come over, and we would safely distance ourselves in the living room and watch the UFC fights. I would purchase them on my TV at my house, and we would all watch them there. And that was big, being the only thing that was playing during COVID. So I was like, oh, I'll never be the one that pays for the pay-per-view. But no, I was buying every single one because we had nothing else to watch. You can only watch so many Netflix shows over and over again. So
100%. And then also, what's up, Gus? Gus says, hey. And then Star saying, yeah, Dustin's definitely a good guy. Yeah, like I have biases, not only because of guys I've either personally worked with or like being from Long Island. I've trained from like Enzo Gracie, Matt Serra, the Vamos brothers, Vamos MMA, which doesn't have as many of the big UFC guys, but up and coming dudes that have trained out of there. Long Island MMA, like Ryan LaFleur and Dennis Bermudez, and even Chris Wade in the PFL, and like Chris Algieri from the boxing world. And like, I've had great strength coaches too, mentor me. And like, so if it's like one of their guys, I support them. Like Dustin Poirier is Phil DeRue's one of his clients. And Phil DeRue's a big strength coach out of Florida, who's someone in our network who's I would call him a friend of mine, not like super tight, but like someone like, I can hit him up and we can chat and run things by each other and blah, blah, blah. So anyways, my point is like, that's where I have like sometimes biases. And now what I'm really excited about, even like with Rogue, now that we have this new location is, and then Matt Serra, I love him. Yeah, Matt, dude. So here's the thing about Matt Serra, in case you guys don't know this and you wonder how he is on camera is like who he is as a person. Like when you just roll up in the gym, that's who Matt is. And like when you have barbecues and you're just hanging out with him, that's who he is. Like he is that dude 24/7. I don't know. I've never like just hung out in his house in the morning and shit, but like when I've seen him at the gym, at the mats, like at the barbecues, like that's who that dude is 24/7 from my experience. But even when going back to like the Rogue thing, like I'm really excited about the new location because we have the strength conditioning area now. We sponsor that. We have like mat space. Like we're really like, my push is making Rogue a destination for people to travel to, not just for like just fighters, but like all over, wanting to have this really central fun location. So we'll have it like you guys, and we're going to start. I'm like, fun fact, and like we're going to even stream from the gym location and strength conditioning area as we potentially have it set up in the weeks to come. And like having, like I was talking to you before, like just better production value and quality. So you guys even watching the streams, stay tuned because we're going to have even more awesome sauce for that to come. But I'm going to stop ranting here. I want to kick it back to you guys. If you guys got questions, other questions maybe for Nick beyond like UFC stuff. And then he actually writes back on Instagram. He's awesome. Yeah, like he's a legit dude, man. He's just like, again, I consider him a superstar in the fight world, but he's just that guy. Like he's just a typical Long Island New Yorker, like just that guy. It's amazing to watch. But anyway, so Nick, I want to kick it back to you. Now, here's my other question. So this is a whole other thing we hadn't talked about. Based on how this journey's gone, me and you have talked. I don't know how much you want to talk about this. So I'm like investing in yourself from like a trainer or a coach perspective, and like now supporting other people and their transformation. So like, I'm curious if you want to maybe dig into that a little bit, or anything you want to share around that, or thoughts around that, or
yes,
questions with that.
So I've actually looked into now through NASM of looking into getting my certified personal trainer's license. Like I said, I've coached for years. I've done the weight programs for years. I've been around some of the best weightlifting coaches, and here's my thing. You know, I'm a sponge when it comes to that stuff. Like I've worked out with people who are like only like high reps, or like wrestling workouts, or football workouts, or like long distance runners, and I take it all in, and I take every little bit just to make my own little program. So once this hurricane kind of settles down, everything else, and I'm fully back home at station, I'm gonna enroll in the certified personal trainer program and hopefully get my license and be able to impact people the way Mike has impacted me, hopefully. And
first off, let's take the hopefully out of there. I'm going to speak into existence. That's totally what you're going to do and what's going to happen, because I have confidence in what you've done already and the person that you are. You know what I mean?
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I've heard so many things that was like, oh, you know, you don't have a ton of followers, but you know, my big thing is if I can just make one person decide to get off the couch and go to the gym or eat something, drop the bag of chips off the couch and just move, that's my W. I've grown up and being around family, you know, they're like, holy cow, how did you do that? Like, I'm just like hard work, clean diet, and work with Mike, you know? So anybody that ever has questions about it, I immediately tell them to pull up Mike's page and show them like, hey, this is where I did it. And they're like, I was getting a new car, and the car dealer was we were sitting there waiting for paperwork to get transferred through, and I was telling him about everything, and he was like, oh, that would be something I want to do, but I've got a bunch of stuff going on. And I was like, I told him the same thing Mike told me. If you don't do it now, you're not going to do it, because there's a million reasons why not to do something, but nobody else is going to do it for you.
Yep.
You have to do it for yourself. Nobody's going to pick you up and put you on that weight bench and pick the weight up and just hold it for you. You got to do it all yourself. And that's just something I've kind of pushed. And kind of one of the big things you'll see on my Instagram page on Stash Strength is bend, don't break is kind of the mentality I kind of carry through this whole thing. I mean, your body can take so much. I've been through so much in my life. I've been through going through a divorce. I've been through custody battles. I've been through being so big that 6 steps is going to kill me going up a flight of steps. But I've pushed myself, and I can only say that I'm bent, but I'm not broken. So that was a big thing that's kind of pushed me through everything. And just, you know, there's a lot of people like, oh, why don't you just stop? You've lost this much weight. I'm like, no, I'm not done. I'm not satisfied until I'm satisfied. And that's just not it yet. So.
Yeah, dude. And that's I wonder that maybe even you're like, continuous thought process, and maybe any questions that coming around this from you guys, and maybe what you guys want to hear, maybe Nick elaborate on or speak to, or there's additional questions you guys have. Because the common thing that I hear, and that even comes up with me, is it's actually, I think the underlying thing is like, what is at the root? So there's an analogy, right? It's the root cause of, like, if we think of, and there's a great metaphor I heard my coach talk to me about with mindset, was if we look at, like, if you drop a pebble or a rock in a lake or a pond or a body of water and you see ripples, let's say it puts out 5-10 ripples, you go to the 10th ripple, which is like where we currently are. You're like, all right, I'm just like not in the healthy position I want to be in, or like I'm like, you know, drinking or smoking or whatever it is that's going on, right? I'm not happy with that. I'm going to go back 1 ripple, and that's what I'm going to try and address. But really, what if we addressed why the rock is dropping in the water in the first place? What is the actual catalyst? Like, why are we using food as a crutch? Why are not you? I'm just speaking for me now. Why are we using this avoidance behavior? Why are we like doing all of that? And that's like indirectly, even when I talk about this idea of part of health coaching, when I got my board certification, one of the things we had to get trained in was CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. And it's like the narrative we tell our mind. Now, again, we stay within a scope of practice. Like, I'm not going to be a therapist. That's not my role or my scope. But it's understanding, like, what's that, to your point, what's that story we're telling ourselves? There's never going to be a perfect time. Like, literally never in life is there going to be a perfect time. And there's always going to be something that comes up. Like, I could give you every reason, even to this day, why I shouldn't do something. And I'm also a really good salesman when it comes to manipulating my own brain. Like, I could justify doing things because I want to do them if I wanted to, but it's instead being able to focus that and then think about, like, if we're going to sit, this is the analogy I always use. If we sit on the couch and you don't do what you're supposed to do, like go do that workout or whatever, are you even going to enjoy sitting on the couch? Or are you just going to sit on the couch and regret? You know what I mean? Like, it's that notion of it as it were almost.
Oh, absolutely. I'm right there with you. Going through everything I did, I've not only had to train my body to get it where it was, but train my mind. Like I'm a complete advocate of going to therapy. And, I went for years, I'm a big tough guy. I've been in fights, I've been this and everything else. And I was like, dude, I need somebody to help me. And I reached out to therapy, and I've done that. And I'm a huge advocate for that. And, if you're somebody that's dealing with some of the heartaches and the troubles, and you're feeling down, and you hear it all the time now of, like, just people, like loved ones, just going because they just can't take it anymore, please reach out. I am there. I've been through it all. I've been on the lowest of lows, and I'm still chasing the highest of highs. And I will be willing to help, reach a hand out and get you out of whatever hole you're in, whatever dark place you're in. I'm right there with you. So that's a big thing too. Like, not only training, physically, but mentally too. Like, I'm reading books now. I'm reading David Goggins' book, and that's a huge, just, training your mind, callousing your mind. Just, I'm doing things like, I don't think I've read a book since like fourth grade. Like, so I was like, never a big reader, but now, after working with Mike and like trying to find other avenues and not having Wi-Fi at my new house, that was a big thing. So that was no Netflix, none of that stuff. So I picked up reading and being on the road. Instead of watching TV at night, I started reading more, and I've read like 3 books now, which is 300% more than I read since fourth grade. So that was big.
Yeah, that's huge. And even so, this is something I talk with. Again, I'm projecting a lot of my own stuff, but I think it's relevant to so many people, honestly. Because I'm like, dude, if I'm going through this and this is my area of expertise and profession, I imagine people that don't have the resources that I do or don't even have this are probably experiencing some version of this. And the idea of, is it that we don't have time, or is it we don't have the bandwidth and energy? Because time, and it may be actually sometimes we don't have actual time, but what I find, and from my own experience, and even talking to, like, because here's the cool thing too, in some of the things I've done throughout life, and even where I grew up, like, I've seen some of the most successful people in whether it's politicians, Wall Street people, professional athletes. Like, I went to school with like kids that were, their dads were like jet players for the Jets, the Giants, like, you know what I mean? Like, I've seen those high performers on a variety of fields and worlds. And it's usually not that it's not time, because they're the busiest of the busiest. It's the bandwidth and the energy. Meaning, like, if I'm doing things that are so taxing on my willpower throughout the day, at the end of the day, if my willpower is at 0 because I've taxed it so much from drudging through work and drudging through my life choices, of course I'm not going to have the bandwidth or the energy to like go do the gym or do all those things. So it's like also an opportunity from my experience to look at, like, I'm not saying, hey, everyone quit their job and just do something else. Maybe you can't do that right now, but reevaluate, what am I doing with my life and my day, and how am I spending my energy? The people I have around me, the relationships that I continuously allow to be in my life, the boundaries that I have or that I don't have, like, all of these things compound and add up. So that's my rant here. And I'm curious your thoughts on all that too, Nick, because I always respect it.
Yeah, that's a big thing I kind of evaluated. So, in my line of work, there's a ton of people that I've seen through the years that have just completely kind of abandoned the family aspect of why they're doing their work. They just work to get by the nice things and just buy fancy stuff, buy a pontoon boat and a $400,000 camper to use once a year on a Myrtle Beach vacation, and that's the only thing they do with their family. Now luckily my company is great with time off and everything else. And I've had a lot of stuff with, custody of my kid. And I know like a lot of people are just working to get nice things. I'm working so that I can provide for my son. But sometimes the things that I remember one evening, and this is a tearjerker for you. I was laying there with my son, and I was singing him songs and doing this, and I was just I had a tough week. I'd been pushed to my edge, and I was like, Wes, I love you, buddy. I'm gonna get you anything you ever want. I'm gonna get you your bikes, your car, like whatever you want. He's like, no, Daddy, I don't want those. I want you. Like I want Daddy. That's it. And I was like, well, there goes tears rolling down. And it just kind of makes you think like you can earn all this money in your life, but you can never earn back that time you lost with your kid. Now, my father's a great man. He's taught me a ton in my life. He spent a lot of time traveling to help get us whatever we wanted. But, like he also made it a priority to during like football season, but especially wrestling season. He was my middle school wrestling coach from like 7th grade. Oh, he was an assistant for the wrestling team from 7th grade and then like 8th grade. And then 9th grade, he was like, no, I'm not going to do it. You've got coaches. And then our team was kind of struggling. And all the kids that had been on that 8th grade team, we had nine freshmen that came in, and they were all became starters on that varsity team from the team we had. So, they all kept seeing my dad come pick me up, and they're like, Coach Sneezy, please come. Like, we want you to come. And like he was always there for that stuff. And we really bonded on that. And sports was a big proprietor of my life and always been a key relationship with me and my father. And so that was big right there. But like, when he would be gone for hurricanes, I've made a priority. I come back every week and a half to go pick my son up and spend the weekend from when Katrina hit in 06, 05.
Yeah.
My dad was gone for 4 months. I was getting in trouble with school. I was acting out. I was doing everything. And I think it was a way of like, I'm missing my dad kind of deal. So I've kind of told all them, and I had to sit down with my boss. I'm like, look, when I'm here, I'm giving you 110% of everything I've got. But when I'm with my son and I'm spending that time that I will never get back, he's never going to be this little ever again. This isn't Benjamin Button. He's not going to get smaller as he goes. I'm going to spend as much time with him, and I'm not just sitting on my phone or like doing this. Like when I'm with him, I'm tossing that phone on the charger. It's going to charge. You can do whatever. But that time with him is special time. I'm going out to take him on hikes, and he's watching me do workouts. The other day, we were out in the yard chasing each other. I taught him how to do a push-up. Was it good? No, it was not a good push-up, but it's a start.
Yeah.
He's now eating all the food that I eat. Like last night, I made Italian sausage, peppers, and rice and everything, and he ate it all up. And I was like, well, that's good. Let's just keep eating right. Because I see so many kids these days, the only thing they'll eat is chicken nuggets and
French fries,
mac and cheese. I'm like, that's not a great diet. Your bones are gonna crumble in a couple of years, I promise. But no, I mean, just being the best example I can for him is why I'm doing this. I want to be the dad that's like showing up to t-ball and wrestling, and I'm out there swinging a bat, or I'm out there wrestling around or coaching, or I don't want to be the dad that's like telling the coach what to do, but I've been in his shoes before, so, I mean, my son's been a big motivator through all this, and just prioritizing time. I'm telling you, you can buy your kid everything in the world, but if you can buy him that time, that's going to mean so much more than just a bicycle or the newest Transformer toy or whatever kids like. Those things he'll probably end up throwing in the corner one day. He can never throw away the time he had with you or her or whatever, your son, daughter, whatever,
Yeah.
That time's so valuable.
Dude, you hit so hard and like to my soul here, because that's one thing. Like, I was actually talking to my dad before we did the podcast. I was checking on him with some other things. And I'm really fortunate. Both my parents are accountants, and I've always grown up with like business owners and like entrepreneurial people around me. So I was expressing him gratitude. I was also checking on him because his mom, my nanny, recently passed away. And like, so just seeing how he's doing and, talking about things. And like, I realized like my parents sacrificed a lot for me to have such an amazing life. And in hindsight, like when you grow up in a certain culture, from my experience, like I grew up on Long Island and I realized I grew up very privileged. And I was really fortunate. I knew in the moment, like, I had great things. You don't realize until you talk to other people or like maybe go to other countries and realize what they do or don't have. Like, oh, dude, not everyone has limos for their birthday every year. Like, or like, I know it sounds crazy, but like, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying I had limos every year, but just like the expectations of the world I grew up in. Like we lived in a nice town, but my parents picked the house we had because I was on the border of a really nice school district. So I can go to a really, really nice school district and go like one of the kids I played football, this guy, Stephen Bowen. Let's actually look him up really quick. He's the VP of marketing for the NFL right now.
Oh, wow.
Stephen Bowen. Let me actually see if that's still his title. He played for the Texans. Like, just as a random, like, I don't even talk to like the dude like that anymore, but let's look up just to give you an idea of like the opportunities and the sacrifices they made. Yeah, he went to Hofstra. Hold on. I gotta like Google all this stuff. Oh, he played for the Cowboys too. Yeah, he played for the Cowboys, Redskins. I thought he played for the Texans and the Jets. Okay, I messed it up. Wait, what is
Sorry about that, Steve.
I'm a Jets fan too. That's perfect. That's like the unfortunate. Anywho's, all right. So the point being is, I don't know. It doesn't have his Wikipedia is not updated, but I know that he's also like now he works for the NFL afterwards. And the point is like to be able to, my parents did, and he's actually got a great story because he went undrafted and made a career like over a decade playing, or just about a decade playing that. The point is like they sacrificed a lot. But one thing I appreciated about my dad, while my parents did travel a lot. So like my grandparents were kind of like my parents, and the relationship I have with my parents was slightly skewed because of that. But my dad made a conscious effort to always go to my baseball games when possible, unless he pretty much showed up to all my games, whether I was starting or not, whether I was sitting the bench or in there. And like he, like to your point, he was always supportive. He made time for my brother, for myself, and like he would bring us to Yankee games, Met games. Like he instilled like charity in my life. Like we would go into like the hoods of like Harlem and Brooklyn as a kid to like hand out Meals on Wheels and like made time in those things. And of course, like we could always say, oh, well, this is where I was traumatized, or this is where we messed up. And I realized no matter how good of a job we do as parents, kids are always going to have something when they get older that like, this is where it could have been better, but we just do the best that we can. My point of all this, into what I'm hearing you say, is being there for them and having that time. Cause that's what I'll remember is the experiences. Not only, yeah, we had great vacations, but like remembering, again, there's a quote I said at my grandmother's eulogy. People they won't always remember what you did, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And that's like a big thing that we get to create. And also like I see it with my kids, right? Like, dude, what's crazy with and you can see this with Wes, is like my kids wake up at like anywhere from 4 to 7 in the morning. They're just like crazy sometimes. And they come out the gate hard, like ready to go. So like, Dad, can we go in the gym? They want to like work out. Tessa comes over my desk and starts typing on the computer, and like they just mimic what we do. They're sponges. They're soaking it in. And they're like, Tessa wants to help me make my protein shakes in the morning. They like love smoothies. They absorb these things. So it's not even foreign to them. Now, to be honest, do they have like chicken nuggets and mac and cheese from time to time? Sure. But that's not like the only thing they're having. Do they also, because my in-laws own Geraldine's Bakery here in town, do they have cookies and snacks? Sure.
Yeah.
So that's a long-winded rant to get to the point of what I'm hearing you say and echoing that notion. Also for the parents out there, like if let's say you're not at your best, this is not a guilt trip. This isn't trying to make you guys wrong. This isn't trying to say, hey, you guys are horrible pieces of S. Like you're not bad people. It's just think about what's important to you. And like, let's make that first step. Just even if you're not gonna, go run a mile or go work out, just like put your phone down, to your point, Nick, be present in your kid's life. The thing I like, and Tyler Minton posted about this the other day, who's like a huge nutrition coach. He works with DC and like all these great people. He's a friend of Johnny's, and he's someone in the network that we know. But I talk about this all the time. You want the best workout? Just do what your kids do for a half hour. If you can keep up with your for a half hour to an hour, you're going to get a great workout, no matter what.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, and also on the other end, I had my mom. So my mom had me at 19 years old. My dad was 30. My dad had a full-time job. My mom was a stay-at-home mom for my whole life. I have a little brother and a little sister, and she took me to I was never late to practice. I was never late to a game. I was never. She was always there. She was there every game. She picked me up all on time. I wasn't the kid that was waiting 3 hours after practice for my parents to come pick me up. But she did all that and juggled three kids. And at I don't know. I told her before. If I was 19 years old, my kid would not be okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's it's just crazy to think of. I mean, I'm 28 now, and I've got almost coming on 3 in April. But still, I mean, she went from worrying about passing her chemistry test to, hey, I got to keep this kid alive. Like I got to support this kid. And she did everything she could, and that was some of the things that were instilled in me, and like stuff with my dad. Like we growing up, we had ups and downs through the economy. We always, dad always kept us provided for, but like if I wanted something, I had to work for it. Like I had to do chores, I had to do construction on the house. The house we had was like the house they have now was like a 1980s house, and we did all the renovations on it. So I was climbing a roof in like sixth grade with my buddy Tyler, and my buddy Tyler, didn't have the most sound home life, but he always, my dad taught him so much, and he still comes to my dad every once in a while, like, hey man, thank you for all you did, and just teaching us. Sometimes it came with like a thrown wrench or a hammer, but that's a little different times these days. But
For
you
sure.
know, it's just a part of it. And but he was, at the end of the day, he was always there. My mom was definitely always there. And so that's just something I want to instill with my son is, I'm here, and like I've taken a little different approach of it, of not burying my time, and like, he dealt with a lot of stress, and like sometimes, and like not handle it well when we all came and met him at the door. But with my son, the second I see him, that work stress, that workload, the stresses of life are gone. This is my time with him. I prioritize it, and even if it's the hour and a half car ride for me picking him up to bringing him here, we're listening to songs or singing together. He goes, he always asks me, Daddy, how was your week? And I'm like, oh, it was great, man. How was your week? Just talking back and forth like that, and just letting him know that I'm there, and I always will be there. Works. I can work a million hours and like never, and I could buy him all these things, but that time you have to watch him grow up, you'll never get it back. So that's a big tough thing for me, because I grew up and I watched it. My dad worked a ton, and I appreciate everything he's ever done for me. But sometimes I wish I would have had more time to spend with him and less time with him not being there. But so that's my biggest thing that I've really, over these past about year and a half or so, because I've moved 3 times in the past 2 years. Well, 4 times technically, if you just count the Asheville to Asheville. I've taken many jobs. I was a vice president of a restoration company in Texas. I was working a billion hours. I wasn't getting time with my son. I was beat down. I was broke down, and I on paper I should have been the happiest, right? I had a 3,000 square foot house. I had the picket fence. I had the nice car in the driveway. But guess what? The happiness wasn't there.
Bingo.
And I'll be straight up with everybody. Right now, I'm living in a little 2-bedroom house. It's got a yard big enough for Wes to play in. It's got a fence around it. I've got a $15,000 exterior that has been crashed into. And you know what? I'm happier than I could ever be, because happiness is a state of mind. It's not a price tag for me. So
Oh, again,
that's
Nick,
just kind of
speaking
where
to
I'm
my
at.
soul, bro.
So that's one of the big things, and that, like, that's what people want to take from this program. With your 12-week program, I've learned a lot. It's not only just what to eat or what to do, or hey, just go drink a beet drink every day. It's a connection that you make with Mike, and his team, and like, you know, he's always there to help you out. Like, I've had tough days where I don't want to go to the gym. I want to just take a box of donuts and like make it non-existent because I just want to eat the whole thing, you know.
Yeah.
But Mike's been there the whole time. Like, trust me, this isn't easy. Like, this isn't I see so many of like the Herbalife things where like, okay, all you're going to do is just drink a shake all day long and weight's going to come off. If you eat anything, a liquid or eating the same thing, you're going to lose weight somehow.
Sure.
But it's not sustainable. But with Mike, not only has he built the foundation for me to have a sustainable, healthy life, but he's given me, you know, mechanisms to help get through these tough times, you know, and he's shown me things I can do and everything else to help get to where I am now and where I can keep going. Like, this isn't a stopped car. This car isn't broken down. This vehicle is still rolling down the highway at 100 miles an hour. And I know Mike, and he'll be there to help me out whenever I need it. No, I'm not on his program technically anymore, but I'm still got Mike Kahlo in my corner.
That's a fact.
And that's
no, keep going, dude. Keep going.
No, that's just where I'm at with it. And, you know, I can't preach this enough. Like, if you make the commitment, yeah, like he even told me at the beginning, no, this is not the cheapest program, but you pay what you get for. You know, I'm 55 pounds down. I never want to go back because of the stuff Mike's done. You can do the $5.99 a month, $5.99 a month program app that you lose some weight on, and then you forget about it, and then you're like, oh crap, I'm paying the subscription that I haven't used for 12 months. You know, so. But like I said, I can't preach any louder. Make the commitment, take the time, do it right, put everything you can into it, and you'll learn not only stuff, you know, mentally, physically, just life goals. I mean, Mike's a great guy. He's a family man. He's who I wanted to be. You know, when I first started, I was a broken man. I had a broken down vehicle. I was riding around in family vehicles. I just totaled my vehicle a month earlier. I was going through a divorce. I was broken, and Mike helped pick the pieces back up and showed me, hey, there is happiness and you can get it. And if you just got to work hard, and trust me, there's mornings I didn't want to get up at 5 a.m. I wanted to let that alarm roll in, and I just wanted to sleep, and I just wanted to give up, but he didn't let me. So that's the biggest thing I can preach about this whole thing. Mike's there. The tools are there. The foundation's there. Take it.
So I'm very much going to receive what you said, and it's very humbling to hear that. But I also want to just be very transparent, guys. While, yes, I agree with what you're saying, Nick, like so this is what I'll echo. You did all of this. Like, so this is the equation. I learned this because, so fun fact, you mentioned Noom before. It's different things to try. I used to be a health coach for Noom, and I'm not hating on them. Like, transparently, I own shares of the company, honestly. Like, so I'm not going to hate on them.
Yeah.
But I will say, from my experience, it's having clear expectations. You get what you pay for. And also, what I've learned is, like, I'm just the co-pilot on this journey. You're the one driving the ship, driving the car, right? I'm just holding the map saying, hey, we could go left, we could go right. Here's the pros and cons of each. Which way you want to go? Like, what?
Absolutely.
I'll be here with, and to your point, like, I'm going to always be your co-pilot, man. Like, I'll always be on this journey with you. Even when people graduate the program, regardless if they continue or not, whatever that looks like, the goal is to always be here. And transparently, like, me and you have talked, and we'll continue talking about this, like, you're someone that, like, I'm very honored to be able to help. We're going to do a really cool campaign coming up ahead with, like, so you guys will see probably some ads on that coming out here shortly on Nick's, more of your journey, Nick, and what Nick's done and created. But again, like, you have to show up and do it, man. Like, even when I was just an in-person trainer, like, I would, whether meet someone at the gym or show up at their house, like, I would only be doing that maybe 2 to maximal 5 times a week. That's 1 hour a day, 5 days a week. That's 5 hours out of the entire week. So that leaves you 95%. Oh, what's up, Chris? Chris says, hey, in the chat. That's 95% of your day where I can't control what you do, and you still get to show up. So you've messaged me, because I have clients that, like, I'll reach out to them if they don't answer. Also, here's the cool thing nowadays. Like, I fire those clients. Like, very transparently, guys, like, I will fire you. I will say, hey, man, take your money, dip out, move on. You know, like, this is not what it's about. I'm not doing you any justice, because I used to be in a place where I'm like, all right, I'll just take this person's money, show up the best that I can, but I can't control it. Nowadays, like, I'm not doing that. Even if it financially is stressful, like, I'd rather not take someone's money and just not feel good about it and be integrous. I think that's a word, have integrity with it, than go the other way. So I'll just be very clear, like, well, I really appreciate everything. And that's the goal of everything I do, is to transform the world with health in that manner. Like, you showed up, man, and you do it. And it inspires me too. That's the cool thing, is like seeing you show up the way you do. And it inspires me because I'm constantly working on myself. That's why, like, I'm always investing in coaching and education and going to school. Like, I'm doing my master's in clinical nutrition. I'm going to do a PhD in neuroscience. Like, my wife's going to school for nursing. Like, not that I'm making her do that. That's her choice. Like, I just draw inspiration.
Get to it.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And Chris says, hey, by the way, and then tell him I'll follow him. What's his channel? Hold on. I'll drop his Instagram again in the chat. It's actually, so I put it in there. It's Instagram, Stas Strength NC is his handle, Chris. If you want to go give him a follow on Instagram, he's got some great stuff. I highly, highly recommend giving him a follow.
Yeah, recipes and stuff. I'll be honest, I've never done training. I love to cook though. So one of the big things I invested in, once again, it's an investment. I went through Force of Nature. They're a meat supplier. They're out of, I want to say, Wyoming, I believe. And I spent $200, got all the, well, they were like $200 is free shipping. I'm like, oh, I'll save $10. I mean, it's perfect. So I bought probably 25 pounds of different meats. I've got elk, bison, everything else. And what I'll do is I'll make a bowl and I'll cook all the meats. I'll cook all the vegetables, and I'll share whatever. And that's a big thing I share on my profile, is all the people that are like, oh, you just need to eat chicken, broccoli, and rice, and that's the only way you can eat. And that's the only way you'll lose weight. And I even take a little stab at that. You'll see a couple times. It's like the little SpongeBob meme where it's like, oh, you can only eat this. And then I share all the things that I've eaten, and I'm down 55 pounds on Mike's program. And I sent all those pictures to Mike to show him, hey, is this right? And it's got my proteins. It's got the carbs that I need. It's got the fats. It's got everything I eat. And guess what? It's not chicken, broccoli, and rice. Now, have I eaten chicken, broccoli, and rice? Yes. But do I do it every day for every meal? No, that sounds horrible. More power to you if you can do
tacos, right? Like, have you had tacos? Have you been able to enjoy a drink? So I'm not going to say like, hey, let's go out and get smashed every night. Like, but like, can you have a drink? Like, yes, there's ways to balance all these things out, right? Especially heading into the holiday season.
Yeah. Like my birthday, I was like, Mike, I will be plastered. And I literally sent him a picture the next day in my jean jacket and my cup of coffee. Like, I'm not doing great this morning, Mike.
I'm feeling it.
But you know what? The next day I went and worked out. I still did my stuff. I went on a walk. I cleansed my body a little bit. My body wasn't happy with me, what I just did to it the night before, but I went out and did it. I could have laid around. Honestly, I felt like I wanted to lay around for 3 days after what I did to my body. But there's a difference of like, have me drinking on my birthday and getting like that compared to me doing it every single night I come in home. Would I love to have a drink every night? Yeah, I would, but I don't, So, because at me, it's, being on this program, it becomes such a pro cons list of like, hey, like, if I do this now, what is it getting me in the long run? Is this going to help me? Is this having this drink or eating this plate of donuts going to help me in the long run? Is this going to help me reach my goal? No, it's not, but have I sent Mike a picture when I was down in Florida. I had a 22-ounce bison steak at this restaurant. Luckily, I did not have to pay for it. Thank you, whoever paid for it, because that was way too much. But it was so good. And you know what? The next day I went and worked out, and all that weight was gone. It's put what you into it, but just be ready to put the work to get rid of it. It's one of those things. If I sat there and ate like that all the time and didn't work and didn't do that, I'm going to lose all the results I have, So it's staying conscious of what you're going to do and like, what are going to be the results of this? And like, what are you going to do to fix it? It's everyday life problems that you have to deal with, but now you got to do it for yourself. So that's the big thing about it.
100%, dude. And I just appreciate you. Also, I just want to acknowledge you taking all this time, man, to come on, because again, taking time out of your day. Thankfully, Wes is also taking a nap, so that's like a bonus. But yeah. I appreciate taking the time to hang out and hold it down throughout the entire stream. We got about like 5 or so more minutes. We'll hang out, and I'll kick it to Chris. I know you wanted to make sure. Let me know if you have any issues following him on Instagram. Shout out to Star and Dorothy and Gizmo and
yeah, everybody that follows today, I will definitely throw a follow back. Thank you for the support and everything else. And any questions you guys ever have, my DMs are wide open. Or comment, whatever else. If I don't respond immediately, I'll make sure that I answer anything you got. And like, not just food or workouts. If you need somebody to talk to and you're going through a dark place, I've been there, guys. I've absolutely been there, and I am a full supporter if you need somebody to help you out. If you ever have somebody that you need to call, I'll give you my number. I'll be there, whatever you need. So, but no, I mean, it's, huge shout out to Mike and all this stuff, helping me, being my co-pilot in this vehicle. He helped me get to where I need to be. But like you said, nobody else can do it but yourself. So
that's it.
But yeah, any questions anybody's got, open wide up.
So I always like when I have a guest come on, I want to know, like, do you guys, I already know the answer, but let us know if you want them to come back. And then also, I'm always excited because we've had guests come on and then they've turned into people that help create content for the channel. So we'll talk about this. We don't have to talk about this live. We'll talk about this off the stream and like in a little bit more detail in another capacity. But like, we have Coach Kelsey, who's our chef and one of our nutrition coaches. She did an awesome stream on Wednesday. So every month we have new recipes that we add into our fitness vault that you guys get as part of this program and other stuff that we have going on. So she took the bacon wrapped dates recipe and she did, forgot what the other one she did was. I want to say it was like maybe the beet smoothie. Speaking of like beet juices, we actually have a protein beet smoothie. It's like beet and berries with protein in it, like Greek yogurt. But the point of me saying that is if you guys want to see Nick, even like just do like, whether it's a stream or create videos, like cause like I have more brand deals out that we have brands that are like, hey, we'll send your guys like products. So like Nick, we'll talk more about this. And also just the last thing I'll throw out there, I guess 2 things. One, we still have our $2,000 Amazon gift card giveaway. Go to the link tree right here. I'm going to screen share and show you guys what I'm talking about. And then also, we just confirmed the manufacturing process started for our custom resistance bands. Did I send you this yet, Nick? I know
Yeah, so I saw it. Yeah, I was taking a look at it. So
I'm really excited about that. We'll obviously get you a pair so that you'll have, because I know you've already got some stuff. Like I just want you to have a pair of them. So again, guys, go to the link tree, LOF gift card giveaway. Put your name and your email in right here. I'll show. Obviously, I'm not entered, like legitimately entered. I'm not going to win this. I'm just demoing it.
Mike, if you win this, I'm going to be pretty frustrated because I've entered a bunch of times.
Yeah, it's not a possibility. Brittany, Anna, and myself, we won't win. We're just demonstrating this. So make sure you guys are just following Gina, Coach Mike, Dream Team, LOF, and Anna on Amazon. We will confirm. We can actually confirm if you guys are following or not, because if you're not, you're going to be disqualified. And then if you want bonus entries, follow TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. You can refer friends and get a bunch of bonus entries. And yeah, y'all, just here's the thing, though. I want to say there's about 2,700 entrants, but only I think I've got like 1,360 followers. So that means like half you guys aren't even following on my channel. So that means half you guys are going to be disqualified. Just a heads up. Again, this is like, you don't have to enter if you don't want to, but like stick to the rules. I don't want anyone to be complaining that they're heartbroken, that they thought they should have won, but they didn't. Like, the rules are right there. If you guys have any issues, let us know. And then the last piece, I just like to hype and share, because I'm really proud of the resistance bands, because the process we went through. And truthfully, guys, like, this is something that we could have gone with cheaper quality bands and actually made them, it would have been more profitable to do that. But I just didn't want to. I didn't feel good about doing that. So let me show you guys. And we went with the pull-up assist long band style for this set instead of the tubing ones, because this is way more versatile. You can use these not only just as a resistance band set, they're going to come with handles and an anchor, so you can use it in the door if you don't have like a squat rack or anything. But also, you can use this for your barbell, dumbbells, kettlebells to add another layer of what's called variable resistance, which is a fancy way of saying at the last 25% of the lift, you'll get the most resistance load. And it's really great for adding like explosiveness to your lifts, adding a new layer of resistance if you want to up your deadlifts, squats. We're going to do a whole workout series on it. I have a new workout program we're going to launch. So the first 50 people that buy this, you guys are going to get a special access virtually on our website to a free course we're going to launch just for resistance bands. And there's going to be so much more incentive, awesome stuff. But yeah, man, I'm just really hyped because this is like, Nick, I don't even know if I told you this. What we're doing is not everyone is going to, let's say, be able to afford our coaching program, but I'm not going to honestly like, that's okay. And not everyone's going to get coaching with me, and that's totally okay. But what we are going to do is I'm going to actually publish my book, like the nutrition course. We're going to publish it as a book, and we're going to have resistance bands, the smart scale, and some basic products. Won't obviously be with the coaching. And that's to me one of the most valuable pieces. But give you guys the instruction step by step, and it'll be launched on Amazon for a couple $100. We're still figuring out the price points. So for like anywhere from $100 to $300, you guys can invest in your initial starter kit and be able to do this on your own, and then follow us on social media. Follow Nick. Like if you want to tag in for coaching, we'll have options for that. But that's something I'm really excited about, because then my goal for LOF, just my purpose, my ikigai, which I've talked about before, is like your life purpose, is to transform the world with health. And this is one of the ways I can do it, so that, listen, not everyone's going to be able to say I'm dropping, like whatever. I don't want to rant too hard, but that's just something really I'm excited about. Again, I'm going to bring it back home with Nick. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to share your Instagram one more time. For anyone watching the replay too in the future, you guys won't be able to see the chat. So I'm going to just pull up his Instagram one more time so you guys can kind of see that. Hold on, let me pull it up. Boom. And again, like you guys said, please go follow Nick. And again, here's what I'll say, dude. So every single one of my Instagram accounts, like I had 0 followers when we started, and it takes time. Hold on, I just realized I'm sharing the whole thing. We don't want to share that. We just want to share it right here. Yeah. So guys, go follow Stat Strength NC. And again, you can follow Nick on his. I don't know if, do you want people to follow you on your regular page too?
That's fine. I mean, it's a lot more pics of my kid. I mean, if you like adorable 2-year-old, pictures, that's there's a couple fun things in there. So, and I did make T-shirts for the thing. I'm not selling them. I just made it on Amazon, and so just because I needed a workout shirt, and yeah, that's the logo I made. And
I thought you had a post on them here.
Oh, that was on the my regular page. I need to.
Where is it?
Right there. Hold on. Up one more row, right to the left.
There we go.
So yeah, there was a.
So yeah, y'all. That is all the fun. So Nick, I'm gonna do an outro and then we'll end the stream, but then just hang out for a minute if that's cool. I wanted to like go over some of you guys. So we'll just give a cheers. I'll do the outro, and like it'll take like 15 seconds.
Cheers.
You like my shirt? How it says like this is Ashley's cup. Obviously, it says Mrs. always, right? But
that sounds about right.
I jacked it. All right, we're gonna do our outro and just hang out for a second. I'll be right. And then yes, everyone's saying yeah, come back. Ooh, yeah, the mental health, like all that fun stuff. Yeah, so we're definitely, obviously, going to have Nick back. We'll do some cool stuff. We'll talk, hang out for a minute, dude. I wanted to share something with you.
Okay.
Hey, y'all.